ممتاز.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. We're doing a sifa as-sabi'a, the seventh characteristic of the worshippers of Allah. And it's only two left, because there's 8 mentioned, so if we could finish them today, inshallah. He says, تعظيمهم لكلام الله وعلمهم بما فيه. That the people that Allah described at the end of Surah Al-Furqan, from their characteristics is that they honor and respect, they have a high level of respect for the kalam of Allah, the Quran, the speech of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Allah said in the ayah, قال الله جل وعلا والذين إذا ذكروا بآيات ربهم لم يخروا عليها صم وعميانا. That when the verses of Allah are mentioned, that they do not, as it says, لم يخروا عليها. And he's going to explain the meaning of this, inshallah. So he says that إذا استمعوا لكلام ربي لم يكونوا كالأصم الذي لا يسمع فينتفع بالموئدة. That they're not like when they hear the statement of Allah from the Quran, they don't act as if literally like they're deaf, right? They don't act as if they didn't hear the ayah. They don't act as if they didn't hear the ayah, meaning they hear the ayah and they obey. They don't act as if they didn't hear the reminder that came with the Quran. Therefore, if they behave like that, they don't benefit from the reminder in the Quran. They don't benefit from what Allah commanded us with in the Quran. He says, وَكَالْأَعْمَى الَّذِي لَا يُبْصِرُ. And they don't act as if they're blind. They don't see what's in front of them. They don't understand. And what does this look like? It's going to come at the end of this chapter, and it might be a little more tangible. The hadith mentioned at the end of the chapter makes it a little more tangible. He said, but these people, بَلْ هُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ الْإِسْتِمَاعِ, but they are diligent in listening and responding to the Quran. وَيَنْتَفِعُونَ بِالْمَوَاعِظِ, and they take benefit from the advice and the commands given in the Quran. So they listen well, they pay attention to what Allah is saying in the Quran. وَيَعْمَلُونَ بِأَحْكَامِهِ وَهِدَايَاتِهِ, and they don't just know what it said, they don't just know the ayat verbatim, but they act on the ayat, they act on the ahkam, the rulings found in the Quran and the guidance found in the Quran, that they act on that. Not just people, we shouldn't be people who just collect books, we just collect information and then we don't use it. That, nothing wrong with collecting knowledge, but we have to be people who benefit from that knowledge, that benefit from their ilm. He says, and Allah also dispraised or criticizes the one man yatakabbar ala ayati Allah wa hidayati, the person who hears the ayat and out of their pride, because it hurts their pride, right? Somebody might advise us and we wrong, but out of pride a person refuses to accept the reminder. A person may refuse to accept the reminder from a person, and therefore he brings a hadith, as Allah mentioned in the Quran. He says, firstly, a person, their pride gets in the way, so they continue going down the same path of disobedience. Their pride gets in the way of accepting the truth, so they continue to go on the same path. He says, so in our ayat, Allah also promised them that there's a punishment for that also, not responding to the guidance found in the Quran. As he says in Surah Al-Baqarah, In ayah 206, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُ اتَّقِ اللَّهِ أَخَذَتْهُ الْعِزَّةُ بِالْإِثْمِ فَحَسْبُهُ جَهَنَّمُ وَلَبِئْسَ الْمِهَادُ. That when it is said to the person, fear Allah, that they're overtaken by their pride and they continue to sin in the hellfire, will be sufficient for them as their final place. That a person is advised to fear Allah, and this is the problem that we find a lot of times. As the Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith, ﷺ, he said that, and we might have heard this before, some of us, you tell a person, fear Allah, akhi, ittaqillah, and they say what back? They don't say jazakumullah khair, sahih. They give you a response back. Huh? You fear Allah, or worry about yourself. Right? The people who talk like this, if you never heard it, alhamdulillah. But the people who talk like this, if you remind them like we're supposed to do, if one of us is slipping, right? We're supposed to remind our brothers and our sisters. We're supposed to pull each other up. We're not supposed to sit back and watch our brothers walk themselves into a hole, into a wall. We're supposed to, as we say, why you ain't pull his coat? Nobody said nothing? Did you tell him? No, I ain't telling him. What'd you say to him? No, I was just, I happened to see him. But when you happened to see him, did you say anything? No. Right? For a few reasons. Some of the reason is, every time we say something to a person, everybody's sensitive. So you tell a brother something, you try to be nice, and they snap on you. So people say, you know what, I just won't say anything. Leave off commanding the good and forbidding the evil, based on the reaction that we get from one another, which in that scenario itself is a lot of problems. But the same statement is made by the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, إِنَّ أَغْضَضَ الْكَلَامِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَنْ يَقُولَ الرَّجُلُ وَالرَّجُلُ اتَّقِ اللَّهَ فَيَقُولُ عَلَيْكَ بِنَفْسِكَ. He said, the most hated speech, the most hated statement to Allah Jalla wa'ala, is that a man says to another man, a person, they advise another person, they say, Taqillah. They say, fear Allah, and the person says back, they respond, فَيَقُولُ, they say back, عَلَيْكَ بِنَفْسِكَ. عَلَيْكَ بِنَفْسِكَ. They say, worry about yourself, don't worry about me. Worry about yourself, don't worry about what I'm doing, worry about yourself. And the Prophet ﷺ said, this is the most hated statement that a person can say, that when they're advised to fear Allah Jalla wa'ala, that they respond to the person who is advising them, and will assume, it's okay to assume that the person that is advising them wants good for them, right? That the person that is advising the other person, they want good for them. They don't want to see them disobeying Allah Jalla wa'ala. Therefore, they go and they say something. You got to fear Allah when it comes to this. Taqillah. That's not right. We're not supposed to do that. That's not from the Sunnah. Muslims don't do this. And they say what? Worry about yourself. Don't worry about me. Why are you in my business? I'm doing me, or whatever the statement is. The Messenger ﷺ said that this is the most hated speech to Allah. That hadith is akhrajahu an-Nasa'i. Imam an-Nasa'i recorded it in his Sunnah, and Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah said it is authentic. So the seventh sifa was that the worshippers of Allah, Ibadur Rahman, they have a high level of honor and respect for the Quran, for the speech of Allah Jalla wa'ala. Therefore, they don't just memorize it, they act on it, memorize it, and they respond to it when they are advised with it. As-sifat al-thamina, the eighth description that Allah gives in these ayat, it says, inayatuhum bid-du'a wa tadarru lillah azza wa jalla. Their importance that they give to making dua and humbling themselves before Allah. Allah said, وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Those, they say, our Lord, give us from our wives offspring that will be pleasing to our eyes. Children that we are proud of. Give us children, not just a bunch of kids. Children that we are proud of. as it says, the translated as, it says that they're the coolness to your eyes, something that is cool to your eyes, something that you like to look at, something that is pleasing to look at. And the dua was to give us righteous offspring. So he said that from the descriptions of the worshippers of Allah is that they give severe importance to making dua to Allah Jalla wa Ala and returning back to Allah in all of their needs, whether it's something from the dunya or something in the hereafter, that they turn and they make a dua. And Shaykh Abdul Razak, he says in this dua that's mentioned in the ayah, it says Jawami' dua. It's from the most beneficial du'as and it's very comprehensive. That a person says, "Oh my Lord, gift or give me from my righteous offspring that will be a coolness to my eyes, that I'll be pleased with, and make us from the leaders of the righteous." Make us from the leaders of the righteous. So he says this is a dua that is very beneficial and comprehensive. It's short, but it contains a lot of meaning in it. Firstly, he says, Dua al-mar bi-an taqarra aynuhu. That a person asks Allah to put things in front of them that they are happy to see, that they are pleased with seeing. Not to put us in a position, to put us in a place where we have to see things that we are, that it hurts, as we say. It's a sad sight. It's sad to see it, right? He says, well, after that, he says the dua is to show us something that will give us some pleasure, that will be pleasing to us to watch. And from the things, it is for children. That, as he says, وَيَسْعَدَ قَلْبُهُ بِالصَّلَاحِ أَهْلِهِ وَأَوْلَادِهِ. And the dua is that Allah corrects and rectifies and makes the offspring, the children, our children, upright, and our families upright and righteous. He says, how fi ta'budihim, regarding their worship, that our children, that we make dua that our children are worshippers of Allah Jalla wa Ala, not that they just have, mashallah, tabarakallah, not that they just have good names. Good names are good. Good names are good. It's from the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ to give children good names, but that's not the extent. That's not the extent. The dua is for that they're correct in their worship, wa akhlaqihim, and in their manners, that their behavior matches their name, that the behavior matches that Muslim name that they have, that the behavior for all of us, the behavior should match. Our behavior should match our names. He said, وَتَعَامُلَاتِهِمْ, in their dealings, how they deal with people. All of this falls under the dua to give us righteous offspring, righteous children that are pleasing to our eyes, that we're pleased with, that we're happy to see. He said, and from that also, وَبِرِّهِمْ بِوَالِدَيْهِمْ. From that is that make our children who are good to their parents. All of that falls under the description of being good or a coolness to the eyes, as it says in the translation. And then after that, Allah said, وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. The dua after that is a dua that, as the previous dua, was not a personal dua for us, nothing for myself, but I ask Allah to make my children, my offspring, upright and righteous in my family. But the dua mentioned in the ayat after that is وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا, and make us, we make dua for ourselves, that Allah makes us leaders for the righteous, for those who fear Allah Jalla wa Ala. He says this dua includes salah nafs, that a person makes firstly dua for themselves, that Allah corrects them and corrects their entire situation and guides them to all that is good. Guides them to all that is good. حتى يكون بعد ذلك قدوة للآخرين في خصال الخير. So that a person can't be an example for someone unless they are first to do that. Everybody with me? That a person is an example when they're doing it themselves, and then others see what they're doing and they follow. The leader doesn't just talk it. The leader shows, and then the people follow. So he says that the dua is that Allah guides a person to be upright, and that a person who guides them to be an example for others. Not that people follow the individual. It's not about the individual himself or herself. He says, but yaqtadu bisamatihi, that they follow with the characteristics and the traits that that person that they're looking at. Everybody with me? It's not about brother such and such, but his behavior. I want to be like that. I need to be more like that. I know I fall short here and he's better than me in this area. Not because of him, not him himself, but the trait itself that Allah blessed him with or blessed her with, that a person becomes a qudwa. A person becomes an example for others who are striving along the same path to be like him or her in that area. He says, فَلَا يُمْكِنْ لِلْعَبْدِ أَنْ يَكُونَ قُدْوَةً وَإِمَامًا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ بَعْدَهُ إِلَّا إِنْ كَانَ مُتَأَسِّيًا بِالْمُتَّقِينَ قَبْلًا. It's impossible for a person to be an example and be upright, except that first that person has to be following the people who came before him or her. How do we know what is being upright? How do we know what righteousness is? How do we know if somebody is deening? Based on what? It's not a trick question, huh? Huh? Based on their conduct. How do we know that conduct or that character is khayr? How do we know it's good? Huh? What do we have to gauge if something is, huh? The revelation, the Quran and Sunnah. Anything that's from khayr that's already in the Quran and Sunnah. Why do we say that? Because a person could say, they could consider something to be good, and it could go against the statement of Allah, the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. But they might consider it to be some goodness. They might consider that to be good adab, right? Good adab, goodness is found. We know behavior-wise, the way we believe, everything from goodness is found in the revelation, in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That if it's not in those two sources, number one, if we say it's from goodness, then we know. If we say it's from goodness, then we know for sure it's found either in the Quran or in the Sunnah, or the Quran and the Sunnah will guide us to it. There's nothing that we have to make up and figure out on our own, because the roadmap has already been laid out. Everything is laid out. The revelation is here. We have the revelation. We have to use it. We have to use what we have. He says, so the person, it's impossible that they can be a example for people except that they follow the people that came before them in goodness. After that, Allah mentioned at the end of those ayat the reward for the people who implement and who are described with these 8 characteristics that were mentioned in the ayat, in those ayat. So this whole book mentioned 8 characteristics from the end of Surah Al-Furqan for the Ibad al-Rahman. And at the end of that, Khatam Allah finished it off by mentioning the reward for the people, Jaza man ittasafa bi sifat as-sabiqa. The reward for the people who are described with all of those things that came before this. So the reward, as Allah says at the end, أُولَٰئِكَ يُجَزَوْنَ الْغُرْفَةَ بِمَا صَبَرُوا وَيُلَقَّوْنَ فِيهَا تَحِيَّةً وَسَلَامًا خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا حَسُنَتْ مُسْتَقَرًّا وَمُقَامًا. That those are the people whose their reward will be a ghurfa. A ghurfa. And a ghurfa, number one, is, as the Prophet ﷺ described it in the hadith, the ghuraf. The ghuraf of the people, as the Messenger ﷺ said in the hadith, is in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, that the people in paradise As he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, إِنَّ أَهْلَ الْجَنَّةِ يَتَرَاءَوْنَ أَهْلَ الْغُرَفِ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ. That the people in paradise will see the people that Allah described in these 8 characteristics. They will be in a higher level of paradise than the rest of Ahl Jannah. So the people will be in paradise, and the others, there will be a group of people above them. The darajah will be higher. Their level in paradise will be higher than the rest based on what? Based on these 8 characteristics that Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Furqan, at the end of Surah Al-Furqan. The whole book is about those 8 characteristics that Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Furqan. What is the reward for those people? A person who is described and known to be from the people with these 8 characteristics. Allah said that those people, they will be rewarded with al-ghurfa, bima sabru, for their patience and their implementation of those things found in the ayah. Allah said they will be in al-ghurfa. What is al-ghurfa? The Prophet ﷺ said, Ahl al-Jannah, the people in paradise, يَتَرَاءَوْنَ أَهْلَ الْغُرَفِ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ. They will see the people, these people, above them in paradise. كَمَا يَتَرَاءَوْنَ الْكَوْكَبِ الدُّرِّيَ الْغَابِرِ فِي الْأُفُقِ. The same way that we see that bright star above the rest, they will stand out, they will be above the rest. The same way that bright star in the sky can be spotted from so far away, min al-mashriq wal-maghrib. Why? Based on their level in the dunya, and based on those 8 characteristics. So he says, فَأَهْلُ الْجَنَّةِ إِذَا أَرَادُوا أَنْ يَنْظُرُوا لِأَهْلِ الْغُرَفِ يَرْفَعُونَ رُؤُوسَهُمْ. So if the people in paradise want to see other people from Ahl al-Ghurf, if they want to look at the people who implemented these things mentioned in this book, standing up at night, and other things that were mentioned, if they want to see them, they're going to have to raise their heads to look up to see him. They won't be on the same level. They'll be darajat, levels higher than them, based on not knowing the ayat, not knowing the number of the ayat in the surah. Surah Furqan, and the ayat number. You know how we do? What does they say? They say like 346, Surah 3, ayat 46. Not just knowing it where you can find it. Living it. Implementing what's found in those ayat. The people who are described as the people with these 8 characteristics, they will be the people who are above the rest of Ahl Jannah. The people in paradise will have to raise their heads, as they say, to see them. He says, وَيَرَوْنَ هَذِهِ الْغُرَفْ كَمَا نُشَاهِدُ نَحْنُ الْكَوْكَبْ الْعَالِي الرَّفِيعِ فِي السَّمَاءِ. And it will be clear to see, just like we can look up in the sky and see a bright star. That's how far up they will be, and it will be clear for everyone to see. And then Allah said after that, not that they will only be in the levels above the rest in paradise. Then Allah said, وَيُلَقَّوْنَ فِيهَا تَحِيَّةً وَسَلَامًا. Then Allah said, and they will be met when they enter paradise with the greeting of peace. And it says that تَتَلَقَّاهُمْ الْمَلَائِكَةِ بِالتَّحِيَّةِ وَالتَّرْحِيبِ. That the angels will greet them with the greeting, a welcoming greeting. A greeting that is welcoming and that is peaceful. As-salam, which is usually translated as as-salam. And it says here, this peace means that the people who have reached this level, it says, as-salam min al-naqa'is wal-amrad, they will not experience any sickness or any deficiencies or anything like that. This is from the reward that will be given to the people in Ahl al-Ghuraf. Is everybody clear? That the people in paradise will not be on the same level. There's a certain group of people that Allah described at the end of Surah Al-Furqan. He said, عِبَادَ الرَّحْمَنَ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. The worshippers of Allah are the worshippers of Ar-Rahman, are those who walk on the earth with humility. When they meet people that talk crazy, as we say, they're out of pocket. When people talk crazy and talk out of pocket, that they don't respond and get out of pocket like that, in the same way, but they respond better. All of those descriptions that Allah gave in those ayat, those verses, at the end, Allah says, for the people who behave like that. Because we are, when people get out of pocket with us, we got to do what? Huh? We got to go worse. I got to show you that it's not that. Right? I got to show you now, you thought it was something else, so I have to show you now that it's not what you thought it was. So I got to come more and be more disrespectful than you were. But that's not what Allah told us in the ayah. He said, إِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. If they come crazy, they respond better. They don't respond with the same ignorance. That they respond with something better. For the people who do that, and then the description after that, for the people who stand up at night, like we're doing, alhamdulillah, Ramadan, we're praying after Isha extra. Praying extra. But there's no benefit, brothers, sisters. There's no benefit standing for 11 rak'ah if you're not praying your obligatory prayer. 11 extra prayers, 11 extra rak'ah do not take precedence. And they're not better than the 5 daily prayers. Those 11 extra rak'ahs are extra, sunnah, recommended. The 5 are obligatory. Meaning, if you don't pray those 11, there's no punishment. Okay? There's no punishment for not praying Tarawih. Yes, a person misses out on a lot of good, a lot of khair, but there's no adab, there's no punishment. But if you don't pray the 5 daily prayers, the 5 salawat, there's a punishment. There's a serious punishment for leaving off the salah. So after Allah mentioned all of that, then He said the reward for those people who do those things is that what? They will be in paradise, but they'll be where? A ghurfa, high above the rest of the people. That if the rest of the people in Jannah, in paradise, want to see these people, that they have to do what? They have to raise their heads to see Him. They have to raise their heads to see Him. And after that, Allah also said that they will be the people who the angels will greet with tahiyyah, with a warm, welcoming greeting. And we'll stop there and get ready to break the fast for the adhan. And that's the end of this short book. I ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to make us people who implement what we heard, and not just be people who collect information for the sake of collecting information, but that we all look at ourselves and try to be better. And that honestly, brothers, sisters, sarahatan, just to be honest, we can't, brothers, you can't be scared. You can't be scared to change. You can't be scared to change. If you're scared to change and worry about people who are going to say about you because you changed, because you're trying to better yourself, then you're going to be stuck at the same level. You're going to prevent yourself from growing Islamically. That when you change and you're better, yes, there's going to be people who are going to come and they're going to say to you, why are you doing all of that? You wasn't doing that before. Or now you think you're better. Now you think you this, you think you that. When it has nothing to do with that, when we trying to do what? We supposed to be better. We supposed to come out of Ramadan better than we were. Therefore, we stop doing certain things and we try to do other things to make ourselves better. And when you do that, when we do that, there's always going to be criticism. We can't be scared of criticism. That we don't practice Islam for people. We practice Islam because we were created for worship. And our reward is ultimately with Allah. We'll stop there. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. It ain't time yet, but don't go nowhere. If you're going to call it, don't go nowhere. Huh?